Hey, meanwhile, folks, President Trump lashing out at the magazine Christianity Today after that publication called for his removal from office. This also is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi holding articles of impeachment hostage until Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell sets trial rules. I want to bring in Florida Congressman and House Judiciary Member Matt Gaetz. Congressman Gaetz, let's just start with this. Last night, the Evangelical magazine came out and said, that's it, we've had enough. We'd like to see President Trump out of office.
Well, it seems as though the management and ownership of that publication has changed over time. I saw Franklin Graham put out a statement that they support President Trump. I also know that President Trump has put a number of judges on the court that really will reinforce a lot of the values that this country was founded on. That's something important to a lot of evangelicals in my district. So one publication does not a religion or a movement make, and I think the president's going to be just as strong with evangelicals in 2020 as he was in 2016.
Yeah, you mentioned Franklin Graham. His father started this magazine, but many folks have pointed out that that was a long time ago, and I don't know that the family's any longer associated with it. Let's talk about this impeachment situation here. I quite frankly believe Nancy Pelosi has mismanaged this whole thing, and I think she's making a gargantuan mistake because it's failed in the public opinion polls. It's helped President Trump, and to let it linger, I think she's going to really make it worse for her party. But what do you make of it?
It used to be us looking back to 1998 to find Democrats and their Hippocratic statements about impeachment. Now we only have to look back a few weeks. Nancy Pelosi said we had to really move this impeachment forward because it was urgent, it was necessary, and now she's holding it back because she doesn't like the fact that it's not going to go well for her in the Senate. It's also noteworthy that Democrats are now losing independents. They're losing members of their own caucus, in fact, and it seems as though this impeachment was very politically toxic, and they're continuing to pay the price for it.
Yeah, they've taken their cue, I think, Representative Gaetz, from the media, certain media channels that have played this up, and I don't know that they're taking their cues from the people in their own districts, and a lot of these folks probably going to fall on their own political sword as a consequence. I got to bring up the House finally passing USMCA. Of course, it's a year after it was agreed to, but you were one of the yes votes. Now, if the Senate passes this thing, what can the American public expect? What will the impact be?
This is very significant, especially for the auto industry, where we're going to see a $34 billion impact right here in the United States. I'm so glad we're out of the America Last NAFTA agreement, and now we're into the America First USMCA. Secretary Mnuchin saying a ½ point to the GDP could be the upper end of the bump that we get. And one thing that's troubling to me is that Nancy Pelosi is taking credit for the passage of the USMCA. Of course, it was President Trump who campaigned on reforming NAFTA and putting America's workers first. Pelosi taking credit for the USMCA is sort of like Joe Biden taking credit for all those speeches he plagiarized the last few times he ran for president.
Oh, that was a tough one. I don't know. All right, let's go to the last topic because we've got a minute left, and this is critical. You actually voted no to the spending package that's headed to the president's desk. So what's it going to take to reverse debt in this country? Because it feels like the only time we get bipartisanship is if both parties agree to put the nation further into debt, or both parties can argue over who gets credit.
It's sickening that that is the way that bipartisanship works here, by maxing out the credit card of the next generation. And here's what's deeply troubling. No one even read this thing. I mean, this is hundreds of pages.
Well, you had 18 hours and it was only 2,300 pages. What's the problem?
I mean, come on, man. I was in law school. I learned to read pretty quick, but when you look at something this complicated, there's no way to review all the programs that are implicated in such a massive spending package. And it's really indicative of how broken Washington is, that we don't move appropriations bills and scrutinize these policies. We just bake them all in at the end, and that we have to change that, or we will not be able to save this country. I wish President Trump would veto this spending bill.
We'll see what happens. A wise congressperson once said you got to pass it to find out what's in it. Congressman Gaetz, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles.